Welcome to the Corporate Learning Network videocast. I'm Jeff Cattell. Today I have with me Rob Kingings, Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Technology Officer at eCornell. Rob will be delivering one of the keynotes at our event, Effective Marketing for Online Education, December 9th through 11th in San Diego. Rob, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you as well. So I want to start off by asking, I know you'll be speaking about how Agile can transform marketing for online colleges and universities. So can you talk us through some of these benefits of adding Agile principles and maybe some of the potential downfalls when you're adding it to an online institution?
Sure. I'd say before go to Agile, I think part of the thing to look at first is like why would marketing teams even consider this whole Agile principle? And so I think a lot of marketers today, and especially, it doesn't matter if it's online education or not, are dealing with all kinds of different changes going on in the market that really didn't exist, I'd say, 5 or 6 years ago. So some of these changes include there's hundreds of possible channels now that you can look at. So those channels might be LinkedIn, Google, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter. List goes on that you have to choose from as a marketer of which channels do we use. Then there's numerous ways you can connect to your audience through these channels. So that could include video and blogs, webinars, chats like we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you're dealing with multiple devices now. So if it's online learning or online marketing, you're dealing with laptops and tablets and smartphones. And then on top of that, there's all these new marketing technologies that never existed before. And it's almost like every week there's some new technology or some new pitch from a company to marketers that will improve your marketing. So with all of that, the issue here is that there's all these different things hitting marketers, and so there's tons of rapid change. There's all kinds of rapid response times you have to do. So a quick example of that, if everybody saw the Super Bowl in 2012, Oreo came up with this great ad that was really spontaneous because of the blackout. And so a lot of marketers said, wow, that's great. But a lot of marketing teams don't have a way to really react to that. So that's where Agile kind of comes in. And I think the other big thing is that in traditional marketing, it used to be you do a lot of offline channels. So whether it's trade magazines or billboards, you really didn't have the data to show how that's working. And now we're in a kind of data-driven market. So if you're a data-driven marketer, now you're accountable to ROI, and you have to show kind of where that data is. So that kind of leads up to all these things are impacting marketing. And all of us are dealing with limited time, limited resources, and limited budgets. So we have to kind of decide how do we react to this. And so I'd say that's really where Agile marketing comes in, is really, how do you define who your audience is and what the proper channels are, proper timing. And what it really focuses on is typically in marketing, if you take like 5 years ago, if you were launching, let's say, a new program in online education, you're thinking 6 to 12 months ahead, and you're thinking about the campaign, and you're really kind of guessing what we think the impact or the ROI would be of that campaign. And the reality is, usually if you look 6 to 12 months ahead, what we thought was going to happen is generally not exactly what actually did happen. Mm-hmm. So that's really where Agile comes in, is Agile basically assumes that we really don't know what's going to happen. Right. And so it's accepting that. And so it's really looking at it from the perspective of how do we understand our audience, how do we collect data, how do we do a lot of small experiments and tests rather than try to do a big bet. Yeah. And so the best way I would articulate for marketing is that marketing used to be a lot of big bets. You kind of hope it has ROI. You kind of hope it drives, if it's an online learning program, students to your program. But in reality, you really didn't know. Now, if you're a CMO of an institution, you're probably going to a group of executives or a board, and now you're going to communicate data. So what Agile basically promotes is that you don't know what the results are going to be of a certain tactic. You try it, you collect data, you learn from it, and then basically invest your time and energy in the things that are working and very quickly eliminate the things that are not working for your marketing.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense in this sort of fast-paced environment that you're dealing with, that everyone's dealing with. I'm wondering, that was a great overview of like the principles that you're putting in place. I'm wondering specifically at eCornell, can you give us an example? It sounds like this is ingrained as part of your marketing strategy, but can you give us like maybe a singular kind of tangible way that you've used Agile to improve your marketing?
Sure. I think one example is, a lot of us online marketers are using landing pages. So we may have ads that are on something like Google AdWords or Facebook, and you drive that customer to a landing page. So we've done a lot of landing page testing And I'll give an example. We also do online certificates through Cornell. And so with that audience, it's primarily people that are looking at professional development. And one of the assumptions we've always had, because the price point of these certificates are generally $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000 or more. And so our assumption was that we would get better engagement if perhaps we offered payment plans, where it's more affordable for someone to pay monthly, because when you're dealing with certificates, you can't offer federal funding. Mm-hmm. So a quick example we did is we actually ran A/B testing, where we would actually split the audience going to our pages, and the first viewer would see the full price of the program, the second viewer would see the option to do a payment plan. And then what we did is we put markers on the landing page of how many people would actually contact us for more information, how many people would chat with our enrollment counselors, even how many people would watch a video that would explain the value certificate. And so that's an example where we found that there's actually a direct relation to the price point and engagement with potential students. And so we run several tests like that, but we actually found that we had a 30 to 40% higher response rate when the student perceived that it was more affordable for them to pursue that certificate.
Wow, that does make a lot of sense, but it's an interesting way of going about finding that information for sure. You mentioned marketing channels and talking about different ways of approaching this agile marketing. So what kind of marketing channels are you guys using, and how do you see that changing maybe, or where is the emphasis headed in the future?
I'd say definitely we have a focus on the channels where data can inform our decisions versus what I call more traditional channels or offline channels. So in the past, we may have spent more of our marketing spend on channels like direct mail or trade publications. And I think we're really shifting ourselves away from those because now that we have systems and tools that can really see the data and results and how it engages with our potential students, I think we're putting a lot more energies into things like search engine marketing. Mm-hmm. So that could include, the Googles and Bings and Facebooks. Content marketing is another area, like blogs, where we can see the data and see the results of that. And so I think more of our energy is going in those areas and less on offline. Not that we would totally eliminate offline, mm-hmm. but there's just so much you can do when you can track data and make your decisions based upon real information than guesswork.
Yeah. I'm wondering about maybe there's non-traditional kinds of social media, or ones that you would say that I would say are maybe less explored. Like you see like LinkedIn being used a lot, Facebook pages being used a lot, even Twitter. But how about you mentioned like Pinterest or things like Tumblr? Is that something that makes sense for people like you in online marketing for colleges and universities?
We do. We'll in our marketing, we'll create like infographics, and we'll post those to Pinterest and other social networks. And they may not have a direct tie where someone sees an infographic and decides, oh, I'm going to enroll in a program.
Yeah.
But we look at that. There's tools like Google Analytics where you can basically see that certain people viewed that infographic on Pinterest or another channel, mm-hmm. and it influenced someone actually becoming a student. So we use all available channels, and we're always assessing on if it's effective or not. And if it is, we continue to use it.
Yeah, great. Speaking of these prospective students, which is obviously one of the main cohorts that you're going after, how have you seen their preferences and behaviors changing as these, marketing channels and technologies that they're using are changing as well?
Right. I'd say one of the biggest ones is mobile. And I think we're seeing that students, both when they're taking courses, but even for marketing before they make a decision, they're coming to us from a laptop at work or at school. They're on their cell phone, they're on a tablet. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges as a marketer is being able to track and identify the same person who's switching devices all the time. But I think that's impacted some marketing as well as we deliver courses online. It's a big factor because you have to account for all of these different devices. And I think another area is collaboration. I think we're seeing more the need of students wanting to collaborate with other students online, and also with faculty that are in the courses. So I think those are two big changes we're seeing happen quite a bit.
And how are you fostering that better sense of collaboration? Is it through, having those small types of Google Hangouts that you see where the professor is present and students as well?
I'd say all the above. I'd say in our coursework, we have certain activities where there's required discussions. So it may require that you're interacting with a faculty member or a TA as well as other students. But I would say the thing that we've seen changed a lot is really the organic discussions. So what we've opened up a lot is a lot of forums and discussions where We find students collaborating that are, interested in the same topics, that they're just really collaborating. They're really interested in the network with other students. So that's something that's new that we kind of nurture it, but we don't require it. And then we also do things like webinars and events. And so if we see there's a topic of interest of our students, we'll either get a faculty from Cornell or we'll get a subject matter expert that's out in the field that can speak that topic. So those are things that I think are changing in collaboration we've seen.
Great, great. And this is a hard question to ask anybody, but I'm wondering, looking forward for you guys, what do you see as the biggest challenges that you face in specifically marketing for an online program, and what steps are you taking to address those challenges?
I think in general as an organization, I think it's probably more broad, but I think time and focus is probably one of the biggest challenges that we deal with. I think just, whether it's on the marketing side or it's actually developing a program and how you address that in your courses, is there's so many different things hitting you with technologies and desires of students that it's really difficult to find what do we focus on. And so ultimately what we try to do is focus more on what's going to make an impact to the customer over making decisions that are based upon technology or following the latest trend going on. So I said overall, I think it's time and focus. It's trying to kind of filter through all this noise going on in general in online learning and focusing on what really matters, which is really the student at the end of the day.
Yeah, when you're talking about this noise, it makes me think of, before I let you go, I wanted to ask about what I think is making some of the biggest noise in online education, and maybe not warranted noise, but still is the idea of these massive open online courses that get airplay on everything from, television shows to every magazine cover you can imagine, to newspapers. So the mainstream media has really caught on to this, and certainly something that has caused a stir in higher education. So has that at all impacted your job as marketing for online education?
I'd say it has quite a bit, actually. And I definitely, like you're saying, there's a lot of buzz, and there's a lot of people that are pro and con for MOOCs. I think, for my role and generally our organization, I think we see it as a good thing. For myself, I've been in online learning market for 15 years. And in some cases, what MOOCs, at least in the academic world, have done is really brought the story up front where people are talking about it. So for us, it's opened up a lot of new conversations about online learning. It's providing increased exposure to Cornell, where people are now exploring online learning that may not have. It's also engaging conversations with people in the Cornell community and academic community in general, now interested in online learning. And I think its ability we've played a lot in offering free courses through different MOOC channels. And it's a way to expose our brand from a marketing side for people that may be kind of more passive buyers, I would say. They may be contemplating getting additional learning. And this is a way for them to try it out. It's a way to get exposure to your brand. So I think it's great. I think it's definitely, there's still a lot of things that are yet to come that I think a lot of people are figuring out, but I think it's a good thing overall.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it has some certain benefits in the brand building and awareness that you're talking about. All right, well, thanks, Rob. That was Rob Kingyens, Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Technology Officer at eCornell. For more information on Rob or any of the other speakers at Effective Marketing for Online Education, you can view an agenda by clicking the Download Now button below. Thanks for watching.